Hello, everyone. Am I live? Yes, I am. How's everyone doing? Good to see you all. Can you please give me a one so that I can make sure that we're coming in loud and clear, ladies and gentlemen? How's everyone doing? Happy New Year to all of you. And let's say hello to a few. SR, how you doing, SR? Good to see you, my friend. Hicka Homestead, welcome. Jan Penland is in the house. How you doing, Jan? I see Yarn Prepper down there. JT, how are you all doing, ladies? I hope that you're all having a good year so far. Let's see if Copernicus is in the house. I don't see her yet, but I do see Ho Ho Cam in the house. How you doing, Kim's Cluckers? Tom Larson, how are you? The Prepping Mantis is in the house. How are you? New Florida Prepper. I'm getting ones. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That's awesome. I'm coming in loud and clear then. That's great. Let's see who else. Evita, how are you doing? JR, hello. How are you all doing? Hope you're all doing good down in Florida. Did you all hear that we had a pretty big earthquake here in Fairbanks or very near Fairbanks? It was a 5.3 magnitude, and it was, I want to say, probably around 40 miles or so south of Fairbanks. I would say roughly. I just happened to be in the North Pole when that happened, and I was having lunch with Victor and Michael. So we got together to have a quick lunch. And yeah, everything started shaking. It probably lasted about 15 to 20 seconds or so of just rumbling. I was like, wow, I can't believe this is such a big, it was a pretty big earthquake for this area. I haven't experienced an earthquake that big or long since I've been here in this area. So, but everything is good. I mean, that I know of. I don't think I heard of any damage, major damage or anything like that. So, anyways, yeah, pretty interesting, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, any of you that have been following David Dubine from Adapt 2030 for the last several years, I mean, he's said that during grand solar minimums, we have more earthquakes, we have more volcanic eruptions, in addition to having much more erratic weather patterns, right? And the weather getting cooler as well worldwide. Not warm like they're trying to tell us that is getting, ladies and gentlemen. And we'll go over that here in a little bit. Let's see. Phil Dickey, how are you doing? Trucker Hersey, hello. Melissa, Stormy, Fortitude Farms, how are you? Colleen Rich, how are you doing? Beverly, Terry, Carrie, Ann. There's Copernicus. How are you doing, Copernicus? You are here. Good to see you. Happy New Year. Amazing Grandma is here as well. I don't know if you all saw the video that I put out this morning and that told you to go watch a video that I put out a few days ago. I put out a video a few days ago, something with Dennis Quaid and an interview that he had with Tucker Carlson. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not watched that video, go to that video specifically because there is an entry there. All right. Go on there, and I tell you on halfway through the video, I tell you how you can enter to win an Opus 1800. Right. So it's where's my 1800? Oh, my 1800 is under my desk, so I can't show it to you. But the 1800 is the one right below this one, the 2400. So that video is the entry video for a giveaway of the Opus 1800 to anyone with a delivery address in the lower 48s. All right. And it doesn't cost you anything to enter. Just go watch the video and follow the very simple instructions that's on that video, and that's it. And I will be randomly selecting via a random generator or one of those generators that picks someone randomly from the comments. I will be randomly selecting someone on the 25th. So I believe it's next Thursday. I will randomly select someone. I'm not sure if I'll include the winner on the video for that day or if I'll just announce it on the community page or on the live stream or probably all of those. Okay. Anyways, go and check that video out and make sure that you enter to win. Let's see. Janet Robinson, how are you doing? Oh, Billy, how you doing? John Glad, how are you? KP Heathen, how you doing? Pibble Mama, Bob Bueller, good to see you. PJ Bear, Dale Robertson, Ultra Mega Patriot, how are you doing? Good to see you. Did you see the video that I put out this morning about about Donald Trump and what he said about CBDCs. Ladies and gentlemen, the more that we talk about these things that the mainstream media refuses to talk about, the more that it catches on, right, with the people that need to understand what these things are. So I was kind of like shocked a little bit when I heard him say that. And we can talk about that later on if you all want. But I talked about it on that video, and if you watch that video from early this morning, you'll see that it started out with a video that I am pretty certain that the Federal Reserve did not want people to see. So just go if you go watch 30 seconds of a video today, make it that one. I mean, let it run all the way through, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you support the channel. But watch that video where we have one of the Federal Reserve presidents. I think he's the Federal Reserve president of I forgot which branch, which one out of the 12 or 13 Federal Reserve sites there are. Kashari, I believe is his name. Something Kashari with a bald head he's got. And he's pretty much telling a group of students, I believe it was at Harvard, that there's no way that the American people should accept a CBDC because it's pretty much taking the lead that China has already introduced into their population in order to have control over their population. And that's pretty much not what America's about, right? Anyways, he says it a lot better than me. I think you ought to go check it out because people that are in high places are waking up. You have to understand that these people in high places, not all of them are educated as far as what real money is. I remember seeing a Congress session or a debate in Congress once with a congressman saying, why in the world would anyone want to make gold money? Not understanding that gold really is real money and that fiat currency is not. And they're saying, why would you want real money? Gold has gone up in price from $20 back in 1900, and now it costs almost $2,000. At that time, he was talking about it, right? And I was listening to this guy. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's exactly why you would want to own gold because it's kept his purchasing power, you know? So he had no idea what he was talking about. And the more that we talk about these things in these kind of sites, YouTube, other social media sites, the more that these people that don't know anything about it but are in charge of these things hopefully will catch on. Because ladies and gentlemen, we're going to need a very strong leader and someone that understands what real money is when this system finally falls. We're going to need someone that's going to take us in the right direction so that we don't end up with a CBDC or so that we don't end up with another fiat currency. Look at what this one has done to us in the last century or so. James Tyler, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Army vet, Trump girl, how are you? Franken Prepper, how are you doing? It's very nice to see every one of you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining in. Very nice to see you. It almost feels like I haven't had a live stream in months. Brian loves bacon all the way from Arizona. Hello, welcome. Let's see. Who else do we have here? Tony DG 9410. Cecile Thomas, how are you? James King, how are you doing? Good to see you. Joshua Raymond, how are you doing? Greetings to you as well, Joshua. Good to see you here. A Hobbit is in the house. Nita Love is here. How you doing, Oops? TX Putin is here. Sherry 312 Chick is in the house. Felicia, Don Quest, Linda Bop is in the house. Angela Land, all the way from Tucson, Arizona. Dreams Acres is in the house. How you doing, my friend? Good to see you. -9 in Central Michigan. What's the temperature here? -6 right now. This weekend is supposed to get extremely cold. It's supposed to be, this next week is going to be like in the negative teens and lower. So anywhere from the negative teens to like -30 and lower this weekend for the next week is supposed to be. So to me, it seems like it's going to be a nice week going forward to go and do a little winter camping, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Oh, thank you very much, Steve. How you doing, Steve? By the way, Steve Gray. Thank you very much for gifting one of the ladies and gentlemen club memberships. Tommy Bites is in the house. How you doing, Tommy? Good to see you. Chelsea, how are you doing? How's the baby doing? By the way, Karen, how are you? All right, let's bring it down. I'm going to bring it down, ladies and gentlemen. Then I'm going to go ahead and share with you a very short presentation that's going to get this live stream demonetized, okay? and then we'll take it from there, okay? Then we'll do a little chit chat and going back and forth, talking about anything you want to talk about. All right, so if you have any questions that you posted, how you doing, Mario? That you've posted up to now, go ahead and hold on to those and then repost them once I'm done with my spiel. That way we can get that over with, okay? Let's see. Okay, let's see. Keisha Wagner, hello, how are you? Sylvia Jackson, how are you doing? I can't stop saying hello. So let me just bring it down. Bonnie Bethel, how are you? Good to see you. I'm going to bring it all the way to the bottom. That way, McBean is in the house. How you doing, McBean? Good to see you, John. All right, so I want to talk to you about what's going on right now. I'm really not talking about in specific anything that's going on with this polar vortex that has been pushed down to the lower 48s and other parts of the world that are getting really cold now. But what I want to talk to you about, ladies and gentlemen, really quick. I'm gonna take an hour. I shouldn't say that to tell you what I need to tell you here today. But it's the propaganda that's being shoved down our throat. And let me show you exactly what I mean. So take a look at this. These are just a few news articles out there that are pretty much telling you to your face that, hey, you're an idiot. Just listen to what we have to say because we know better. And if you read here, it says here, it's freezing outside, ladies and gentlemen, but winters are actually getting warmer. Imagine that. It's cold outside, but it's really warmer. You know, the lower 48s has record-breaking low temperatures. I'm talking all-time record-breaking low temperatures. But it's getting warmer outside. So stop driving your SUV and try to keep your exhaling to a minimum. We don't want that methane and or CO2, depending which side the exhaling is coming out of, to get into our atmosphere, ladies and gentlemen, in this warming world of ours. Another one, while the U.S. freezes, much of the world experiences record heat. Don't you know that last year, 2023, was the hottest year on Earth ever? That was actually a title of an article that they're pushing out there in the mainstream media. 2023 was the hottest year on Earth ever. Right, ladies and gentlemen? Extreme cold and climate change. What is the deal? Let me see. Extreme cold still happens in a warming world. Imagine that. But they don't tell you that, I believe it's Greenland that has added tons and tons and gigatons of ice. They don't tell you these things because it's not the narrative that you're supposed to believe. It's not what they want you to believe. Why? Because it's not going to scare you enough into eating Beyond Meat burgers, into eating crickets or mealworms or whatever it is that they want you to eat, ladies and gentlemen. It won't scare you enough into staying home and not living your life. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So when you read all of these articles, go ahead and make sure that you do a tiny bit of research. And I've done that for you today. And that's what I'm going to share with you in hopes that you don't believe me, but in hopes that it kickstarts you wanting to do some additional research so that you don't get hoodwinked like the world has in the last couple of decades with this global warming stuff, climate change stuff, weather event stuff, whatever name it is that they have for it today. And I want to let you all know, ladies and gentlemen, that at about minute 30 of this live stream, there is going to be an intermission, a short break for an ad. I do that because YouTube will push this video out or this live stream out to a lot more people if I do that. So please excuse that I have to do that. But if we don't monetize a live stream or a video, it's not going to get pushed as much as it normally would. And this channel is already having problems with being recommended by the YouTube algorithm somehow or another. I fell out of favor with them, but I digress. Let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of still screenshots that I came up with here. Let me just show you. Let me stop talking and show you. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, 2023 was the hottest year ever. Well, I present to you a chart that goes back 500,000 years. And if you go all the way to the left of this chart and you see that first arrow, that is about 425,000 years ago, where you will see that the temperature, the average or mean temperature of the Earth was just a little bit above 12 degrees Celsius or centigrade, however you want to call it. If you go forward to about 340,000 years ago from the present, you'll see that the temperature of the Earth was about 12 degrees Celsius or centigrade. And you'll see that in between 340 or so and 440,000 years ago or so, or 20,000 years ago, you'll see that we had a dip. You'll see that we had a dip of temperature where the temperature came down all the way to below 6 degrees Celsius. And then you'll take a look at the third arrow from your left or the second arrow from your right. That's about 120 or so years, 120,000 years or so ago, where the temperature of the Earth, the average temperature of the Earth, was about the same that it is now. Now take a look at the black arrow that says present. That is the temperature of the Earth, the average temperature now. Does it look familiar? Is this chart telling you that there is a pattern here? And is it telling you by looking at the past that we are going to start going into a cold era, into a time of where it gets colder? All right, ladies and gentlemen, but here they're trying to tell you that the world is getting hotter, because if you believe that the world is getting hotter, you will have no problem with paying all of the taxes that they want you to pay in order to fund all of these failed, I guess excursions, you can call it, where people get rich and you get poorer because they still can afford energy while you can't, and they get to invest in things that they know for a fact is going to make money because the government will say so. Just take a look at this chart. Go look it up for yourselves. Don't let me convince you about this. Just let me stir up your senses so that you can be like, man, I'm going to have to go take a look at that. Because they tell us that it's our fault. But if you look at this chart, who was driving SUVs? Who had coal plants back 120,000 years ago? Let's see. It's coming up. We got another one here. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to pose a question to you. Let's go ahead and remove this for a second. For about the last 2 decades or so, I think this started sometime in the late 90s with Al Gore, as I remember it. I'm sure that there were people talking about this before then and different people. But you remember Al Gore is the one that we all remember saying that by the year 2000, kids won't even remember what snow is like, right? There won't be any ice caps left. There won't be any glaciers left. There won't be any icebergs left. That was Al Gore. I remember him saying those things. Well, the year 2000 came and went, right? And then they had to talk about a whole bunch of different other things. Well, it's climate change now. Well, it's because of this. It's because of CO2. Oh, no, it's not because of CO2 now. Now it's because of nitrogen, all right? So, they've changed this so many times. But you all remember, it's been about 2 decades or so. Well, how much money has the world spent on fixing what I believe is a pseudo problem? How much money have we as humanity been taxed to fix this problem of climate change? It's in the tens of trillions. In the tens of trillions. And some people may say, well, I haven't been taxed for this. Well, yes, you have, ladies and gentlemen, because most of the money that has been spent on this green stuff is government money. And where does government get its money from? It takes this from we the people. It takes the money that is spent from we the people. So one way or another, we've been taxed of all of this money through the last couple of decades, if not more, that they spent on this green energy stuff. Well, that's great. All right, that's great. But my question is this: all of this money that they spent on green energy in the last couple of decades that they've taken from we the people, why is it that today we spend or we use more oil as a world than we did 10 years ago? Wouldn't you think that after a couple of decades of working on this green energy stuff and taking trillions of dollars away from humanity, remember what those dollars are. Remember what they really represent. They represent your time, your labor, your freedom. After taking trillions of dollars away from humanity and using it for this pseudoscience, in my opinion, you would think that the devil, i.e., oil, would be used less because they've put all of this money into all of these developments that's supposed to make us use less fossil fuels, right? Well, I want you to take a look at this. Let's start with this right here, which is pretty recent. This is from January 17th of this year. So just a couple of days ago. OPEC sees robust oil demand next year in first look at 2025. So they're saying that consumption is seen to be rising by 1.8 million barrels per day next year. Next year is 2025. That's at least 25 years after Al Gore said that we should never have any more snow because of global warming. But all of that money that's gone into us being able to eliminate fossil fuels has ended up in now us projecting going forward that we're going to use even more oil. It says that the forecast imply global supply deficit through the end of 2025, meaning what? They're just saying it in a nice way that the price of fuel is going to increase drastically going into next year. Let me show you. I think this is the last thing to show you real quick. Sorry about that. Let me see. Yeah, I think this is the last thing. Okay, check this out. Going back to my point of where has all that money gone and what good has it done? If you take a look, this is the oil consumption worldwide from the 70s to 2022. Now, if you take a look at that red arrow, that's just from the year 2000. Is the trend going up or is it going down? Well, if you take a look at the arrow, the trend is going up, meaning that as we get raped, as humanity gets raped and gets more of their dollars and time taken away and wealth taken away, the problem that they say we are causing is getting worse, if it's a problem at all. So all in all, pretty much what I'm trying to tell you is that, in my opinion, we've been lied to. They're still lying to us, and they're still taking money from us in order to fix a problem that's not a problem, ladies and gentlemen. Because if it was such a big problem, then you wouldn't have all of these bigwigs right now up in Davos, COP28, flying their jets all across the world to get there, and then flying helicopters from the airport to the actual place where they're having their meetings or whatever it is that they're having, whatever functions. All right, if it's such a dire, if we are in such dire straits, why are these people doing this? You know why? Because as they tell you to eat bugs, they're eating steak. As they tell you to drive electric vehicles, which most Americans can't even afford, right? They're driving, armored vehicles, several armored vehicles. They're flying in helicopters. They're flying in jets. While they tell you to keep down your air conditioning, they're living in 40,000 square foot mansions that have a carbon footprint of the size of a small city. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to fall for this stuff, go ahead and fall for this stuff. But I'm telling you right now, what I've said for years now, and that's that this is nothing but a boondoggle. This is nothing but a taking of the people's wealth. And one day when the people finally wake up, it's probably going to be too late because we're going to be in such dire strait. And it's getting closer and closer as the years go by, ladies and gentlemen. The more of a grip that they get on us with all of these rules and regulations, these are things that we can reverse. But have you ever known government to work fast? Not really. So these are the things, these are the challenges that we're going to continue to have as long as this system exists. You know what's the one thing? Can anyone tell me what's the one thing that can fix all of this? It's something that will be very painful, but it needs to happen because it's the only way that humanity will once again find its equilibrium with nature, believe it or not. And that is when this monetary system is over, because it is what allows the crazies, it is what allows those people who think they are rulers to get away with all of the things that they get away with against humanity. And that is all that I have to say on that note, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for hanging in there. I will take any questions or any comments that you would like to share with the community if you put it all in caps. Let's see. Let me see. Deborah says, they don't fool me. I've been around too long. Unfortunately, they have fooled so many people. This has turned into somewhat of a religion, really, ladies and gentlemen, this climate change stuff, where people are willing to glue their hands to pavement. You believe that? You know, these people that glue their hands to pavement to protest, I see cops, like breaking the pavement around their hands so that they can lift them out. I just leave them there. I'm like, all right, you want to glue your hands to the pavement? All right, just leave them there. See what happens. See how many of them continue to do these things. I think I follow a YouTuber. I forget his name, but he calls it unemployed behavior. People that have nothing better to do than to go out and do these stupid things to interrupt the lives of people that actually produce. Unemployed behavior. Is that Derek? Derek, how you doing, brother? How's Amber doing? Well, let's see. Amber is doing great. Hello, Rudy. Amber is doing great. She is still having problems seeing, but trying to fix it. I just had surgery and am off my foot for 2 months. Well, I hope you get better, brother. Happy New Year. And give Amber our best, by the way, as well. And thank you very much. It's awesome. It's good to see you. Okay, so let's see. Who won? Malaki's Corner. I don't know who won. What are you talking about? Where are we at now? Look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not even a half an hour in. Now, remember that if you're here to the half hour mark, there's going to be an ad. I'm going to try to catch it so that for the ad, I'll just pause and not talk for about 30 seconds to a minute and just look at the comments and star them so I can reply to them. All right, ladies and gentlemen. That way, no one will miss anything. I do apologize about the ads, but that's just the fact of life here on YouTube. All right, ladies and gentlemen. And it does help to support the channel because YouTube will recommend the video more because of that. I don't know how much more after the spiel that I gave on the pseudoscience, which is what I believe, my belief, which is climate change. But we'll see. Let's see. We have hey SR, how are you doing? Good to see you, my friend. Happy New Year. If you things got engaged, listen to that. Got engaged on Christmas weekend. Good for you, my friend. Congratulations. Did my payday prep of copper and lead. Nice. Apache helicopters doing training over the city. Unusual. Ranges southwest of the city. And you are in the negatives. Yep, many people are. Is that global warming? That global warming is going to make everyone freeze to death. I do hope, ladies and gentlemen, that from the past experiences of our weather, that for this polar vortex that got pushed down to the lower 48 and Canada as well, that people learn from past experiences and that they are better prepared this time around. I was watching, I always forget the name of this channel, but I really like this guy. His name is Diamond. I've been following him for years. Something Ranch Project. I forget the name, but I was following him, and he said that so far there's been about 50 or so deaths reported, which it's terrible that anyone's passed. But when you compare the area that's been affected this time around to the last time that it hit Texas, Back then, I think in like a matter of like 1 week, there was like over 200 deaths. And now there's about 50 or so deaths. So it's a lot better as far as how many people, have passed on because they weren't prepared enough or for whatever reason than it was last time in a much smaller contained area. So that's a good thing. I'm hoping that people are learning as we go along and that they're getting better prepared. I mean, if you go take a look, ladies and gentlemen, at the video that I put up where I was reviewing, where I was using Amazon's cheapest tent to camp out in the winter. And what I was trying to show you all with that video of me camping outside in a $19.30 tent, all right, in the middle of winter, is that if I can survive in a cheap tent outside, then you should be able to survive indoors, even if you lose heat, just by doing some basic things. I'm going to be doing another camping video too here soon, hopefully. And then I'll put that up. I hope you enjoy those. I really enjoy making those. And I think I've found a new love of camping by just doing a couple of videos reviewing a sleeping bag and then doing that tent video. I think I've found a new love for camping by doing that. So that's a good thing because the more time we spend outside, the better, really. Enjoying nature a little. Forrest, how you doing? Fluffy Otter, how are you? Let's see. Salty Dog, how are you doing? Good to see you. The Cajun Homestead is in the house. How you doing? Can you revisit your math regarding bullion? How much to stack? Like 2 ounces a day? Well, that's just my math for myself. So when I look back and see that in Venezuela, right? I did a video about this years ago. I think it was probably 3 or 4 years ago, right? In Venezuela, 1 ounce of silver at that time, I haven't done these numbers for a while, but at that time, 1 ounce of silver will feed a family of 4, like for 5 days straight. And when I say that 1 ounce of silver would feed a family of 4 for like 5 days straight in Venezuela, I'm talking about breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I'm not talking just rice and beans. I'm talking a proper meal plan for a full day for a family of 4 for 5 days. So that tells me that for one person in Venezuela, you should be able to eat for a month pretty much on 1 ounce of silver, right? But let's go ahead and stick with, let's say you have a family of 4. So you know that an ounce of silver will feed your family for about 4 or 5 days, right? And then you also have to take into consideration whatever monies you spend on gas, on just regular living. So I came to the conclusion that if I put away 1 to 2 ounces, preferably 2 ounces of silver for every day that I needed to survive, because we needed silver to survive just like they did back in Venezuela and probably still do, that would be enough to sustain my standard of living, about getting gasoline, getting food, paying my electric bill, all that kind of stuff, that it would be enough to sustain my standard of living and my family's for X number of days, depending on how many ounces I stacked. So in my opinion, for myself, it will be different for different people. If, let's say, for example, if I put away 60 ounces of silver, that's enough for me to sustain my family's standard of living and give them everything they need for a full month, should things go haywire. And when you think about it, that math pretty much comes out right. Because right now, let's say 2 ounces of silver is $50, right? Roughly $50, right? If you multiply $50 times 30 days, that's $1,500. And right now, if things were to go haywire right now, about $1,500 a month is what it would take for me to be able to sustain our operations at home, i.e., heating oil, food, going and getting water, hauling water because I have to haul my own water, getting gasoline. That's about that's the bare bones that I would need in order to sustain our operations at home. So what I would do is, Salty Dog, to make it simple, is right now, how much does it cost you and your family to survive for a month in nominal dollars, in Federal Reserve notes? If it's $2,000, then I would make it simple and say, okay, it takes Salty Dog 1 ounce of gold a month in order to sustain his and his family's standard of living. There you go. 1 ounce of gold a month, you stack away. That's what you need for X number of months, depending on how long you think a crisis would last. that you would need that backup. That's what I would do, because it kind of like works out. The math kind of like works out that way. Let's see. Okay, let me bring it on down a little bit. Deborah Pasillas, how are you doing? Why does the Panama Canal having why doesn't the Panama Canal have enough water if all the ice? Well, I mean, yeah, exactly, right? The thing is that, listen, ladies and gentlemen, ice melts and water turns into ice. It's a cycle. Right now, there's about just as much ice in the world as there was 20 years ago. I think back in the 70s, there were, how many glaciers on Earth were there back in the 70s? Before they started this global warming stuff, like 13,000 or something like that glaciers. I don't remember. It was a big number. But right now, there's the same amount of glaciers on Earth. We haven't lost any glaciers. It's just some glaciers get bigger, some get smaller. But the mainstream media is going to show you the ones that get smaller, not the ones that get bigger. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's all an agenda. And the agenda is you. The agenda is to have control over you, ladies and gentlemen. Look at all. Have you heard on the mainstream media what a mess the electric vehicles are in the cold areas? They can't charge. They're stuck in charging stations for hours. Some people for more than a day. They don't champion those stories as much as they do. Oh my goodness, it's the hottest day ever, right? Incredible. It's all an agenda. Hey, Rudy, for the 49 state, how you doing? Good to see you. Do you believe in having an inverter to use your car as a backup generator? Absolutely. As many backups as you can possibly have, the more the better. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The only thing is going to be this, right? If you want me to play devil's advocate, the 49 state, the only thing I would say is this, is that you're eventually going to have to turn on that car in order to keep that battery charged. So it's going to cost you gasoline. So instead of having an inverter to keep your car running, which is a great backup idea, that's like one of the last things that I would go to. I just have rather have a small generator that takes gasoline and have a solar generator that I can charge with my gas generator if there's no sun to provide energy to my solar panels from my solar generator. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a good idea to have that as a backup. That would probably be one of the last things that I go towards if I needed to. So I would use all my other preps first before I did that. And since we're talking about solar generators, ladies and gentlemen, through the 25th of January, so about another 5 or 6 days, OUPES is having a really good winter sale. Okay, so through the 25th of January, OUPES is having a really good sale. And that's part of why we're giving away that OUPES 1800 that I talked about on that video. So if you haven't seen the video that I'm talking about, the one with Dennis Quaid and Tucker Carlson that I have up, I think it's only like 10 minutes, 12 minutes long or something like that. Go check that video out, watch it, at least watch the second half, which is where I give you the instructions on how to enter to win the 1800 solar generator, okay, which is very nice. GF asks, why not interview some people who oppose and hear their argument? I've already heard the argument, GF, and I really don't do interviews here. The only other person that I kind of like interact with on here, as far as you can call it more like a collaboration than an interview, is Gray Man, pretty much, because he's a great interviewer. I'm a terrible interviewer, but I've seen all of their arguments. And the thing is that even the people that were on the side of like climate change years ago, even they say that the establishment has corrupted the science in order for the science to say what they wanted to say, right? I've already looked at everything that I need to look at in order to say, yep, look at all of this data going back hundreds of thousands, millions of years. But what they're telling us just doesn't add up to what's already happened and what's happening. Right? The earth is getting hot, ladies and gentlemen, but it's getting colder. I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand it. If someone could really explain to me what's going on, then maybe I've heard the argument about the saltiness of the waters, and how I forget the flow of the waters through the oceans and all that kind of stuff that affects the weather. I've heard that argument, but what do SUVs have to do with that? What does CO2 have to do with the climate of the earth getting warmer? When if you look at CO2 and temperature charts from years past, hundreds of thousands, millions of years past, the temperatures are always ahead of the CO2, meaning that the CO2 levels rise after the temperature rise. Now, their argument is saying that it's supposed to be the other way around. If the people that are saying that it's CO2 that's causing any kind of warming, they're saying that it's because of the high CO2 levels that the temperature is getting higher. Well, why is it that when you look at a chart, the temperature getting higher is before the CO2 levels getting higher? So the CO2 levels are dragging behind the temperatures. You know why? From what I understand and what I've looked at, it's because as the oceans get warmer, as the temperature gets a little bit warmer, because of that big yellow thing in the sky that's a star called the sun, as our planet heats up a little bit, right? That releases CO2 from the oceans. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is why the temperatures are always in front of the CO2 levels. If you look at charts going back millions of years that are taken from ice cores. Anyways, I've done the research that I need in order for me to come to the conclusion that it's not you, it's not me, and it's not CO2, ladies and gentlemen. CO2 makes up 0.04% of the atmosphere. Let me say that again. CO2 makes up 0.04% of the atmosphere. And of that 0.04%, what percentage is we, the humans' fault? I don't know. Yeah, Mario. I mean, I hear you. And I mean, I'm going to keep getting in trouble. You know, it's like I said, one day YouTube is probably going to be gone, or one day you'll just get erased from YouTube. But I mean, it is what it is, I guess. Hey, thank you very much, Penny. Thank you for that super chat. I appreciate it. How you doing, Michael Stacking? Good to see you. Joyful Orange, how are you? An airplane just landed on a highway in Virginia. Interesting. Well, hello, Dina Faulkner. Hello and welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Dina, to the community. That's awesome. Very nice to have you. Wendy Neal, how are you doing? Yes, Oppenheimer Ranch Project. Go check out Oppenheimer Ranch Project, because Diamond over there, if you think I'm shadow banned, he is shadow banned. Oh my goodness, he is really shadow banned. And Diamond gets a little bit frisky every once in a while, you know. He gets a little bit mouthy every once in a while, but he's a really good guy. He's a really good guy, and he speaks what I feel is the truth, ladies and gentlemen. So go check out Oppenheimer Ranch Project. If one of our mods can put up his link up there, that'd be pretty awesome. I'd appreciate that, because he's definitely an underrated channel, in my opinion. Let's see. Okay, I'm looking. How you doing, Troll? Good to see you. Sabrina, how are you? Ace Maduro, how are you doing? Good to see you. Hello, Mary. F. Pierce in the house. Hello. PJ Bear, how you doing? KP Heathen, how are you? Angela Lan, how are you doing? Angela Lan likes the camping videos. Awesome. I'm glad some of you all like him. Bonnie Bethel, how are you? Bonnie says my ad was a camping video. Well, you know, as the weather gets a little bit warmer, I'm going to be doing a lot more of those as well. But I do like doing them during the winter, because I think I learn a lot. I learn a lot about what I can withstand. I learn about a lot about the equipment I'm using, doing it in the winter because it's very harsh to be camping out in this weather. But yeah, I really enjoy doing it in the winter, and I can't wait for when I graduate to be able to go out and do it in the wild. So far, I've done it on my property because there is a safety factor involved when you're doing it on your property, especially like this weekend when it's going to be like in the negative 20s and below. There's a safety factor. And not being that I don't know all of my equipment yet, that I'm still in what I believe is learning, the rights and the wrongs and what you can and can't do. Like, for example, you never get inside your sleeping bag if you have on wet pants. It's okay to get inside your sleeping bag with your pants on if you want, but if they're wet, you don't want to do that. That's one thing that I learned, and I kind of like already knew it, but I never actually went through it. So yeah, these little things that you learn, every time that you go out on a separate adventure, I guess you can call it. These things add up and then make you a more competent camper or bushcrafter later on. How many of you all saw the video that I put out? Not too many people watch these videos. A lot of people say, why are you such a fearmonger, AP? But then they never watch the videos where I'm like, oh, this is a cool idea. So I went ahead and created a bushcraft knife, a really nice knife for super, super cheap. It's like prepping on the cheap, and go check that video out because it's a super cheap way to get yourself a good bushcraft knife if you are on a budget. I received a knife, and I can't show it during a live because they'll shut us down immediately. But I received a knife from Shed Knives. It's the name of the company. And their link is in the description of my videos. I'm not affiliated with them. I just love the young man's knives that he makes by hand here in the U.S. with U.S. parts. So I promote him for nothing in return. I just want him to do well. And he is doing well because right now he has a delay on his knives because he's getting so many orders. So that's awesome, right? But I love that knife. It's a Shed knife that he made. But I understand that some people just can't spend $120 on a knife, but what if you could spend $15 on a knife that would do the job that other knife would do? Maybe it won't last you your entire life, but it will definitely do the job that a bushcraft knife is supposed to do. So I kind of like doing those videos. The one that I did before then, prepping on the cheap, was instead of purchasing one of these hybrid lights for like $70 or so, you can purchase a flashlight for half the price that is just as bright, if not brighter. But then I tell you what the pros and cons are. Like if you saw the video where I showed you me comparing this one right here to the budget light, you saw that I did something that I would never do with the budget light because I don't think that it would survive. So what I did was I took this light and I threw it up in the air as far as I possibly could twice and allowed it to land on the frozen ground, and it still works, right? I would never do that with the budget light, and I don't recommend that anyone do it even with the hybrid light because it's just not something you want to do. I just did it to prove a point that you get what you pay for. When you buy something that's quality, you get what you pay for, but it doesn't mean that you can't spend less on something else and still get the same use out of it. It's just you have to be more careful with those things if you want them to last you any amount of time. Okay. Yep, I talked about that not too long ago here, Don. All those Teslas, electric vehicles. I think that Ford Motor Co. Just announced that they're going to stop manufacturing the Rivian. I think it's the name of that truck, the electric truck. I've told you all, I've been saying this for the last couple of years, that this green dream thing is nothing but a hoax and that it's not going to last. It will not last, ladies and gentlemen. So, I mean, I love electric cars. I think they're awesome. I was able to drive Eric Christensen, the CEO of Nutrient Survival. I was able to drive his Tesla. Awesome vehicle to have, but it's not a vehicle that I would have that I had to rely on 100% of the time. It's a nice toy to have. I would like to have one. I would love to have one of those What's the Cybertruck? Oh, that thing is awesome. I would love to have that. I would also like to have one of the Chevy Hummers that's electric. Those things are awesome, but it's not a vehicle that I would feel comfortable putting my trust on it that it will work every single time I need it, especially during the wintertime, right? I would always want to have my internal combustion engine vehicle. And if I had enough money to buy a toy like a Cybertruck or one of those electric Hummers, awesome toy to have. It's just not going to be something that you can rely on, in my opinion, of course. Let's see. Let's bring it on down. I don't know how far behind I am. Oh, let's see. I am pretty far behind, yes. Oh, Evita says, we are loving your camping videos, especially when you hunt for your breakfast. I'll tell you what, Evita, I haven't been hunting for a very long time. And my first time hunting on that camping video, my first time hunting after years, more than a decade, if not decades, since I hunted, I get a kill. Incredible. Pretty awesome. Angela Lan asks, what are your thoughts on disease X PSYOP? I mean, PSYOP, I think, number one. And number two, if it's real, then I say crime against humanity. So, ladies and gentlemen, listen, disease X, okay? Cyber attacks, nuclear war. Let me see, another health crisis, whatever it may be. Economic collapse, financial collapse, the end of the Federal Reserve note as being the world reserve currency. All of these weather events, okay? All of these things, ladies and gentlemen, they all have one thing in common, and that is this, is that if you just prep the basics for anything that happens, you're going to be much better off than you would have been should you never have prepped. And I'm talking about just the basics. I'm not talking about getting a bunker. I'm not talking about stacking, thousands of ounces of silver. I'm talking about having an extra month or two or three, preferably 1 year. All right, preferably a 1 year deep larder or pantry of the things that you regularly eat. Nothing wrong with having those things because you're going to need them anyways. No matter what the event or crisis is, you're going to need to eat. You're going to need clean water. You're going to need Band-Aids. You're going to need self-defense. Those are your basic preps. So if everyone just got basic preps, you don't have to be a prepper. Just be prepared for basic things. We would be so much better off. And the most important thing about having a population or a citizenry that is well prepared is this, ladies and gentlemen, in my opinion. It allows you to use your no muscle when the government tells you to do something that you don't want to do. Like, hey, take this or you can't go to work. Take this or you don't have a job starting on January 4th. Remember that date? It allows you to say, hey, you know what? I think I'll pass. I got enough preps to get me and family by for the next 6 months to a year. We'll go ahead and live on that until I can find a job with an employer that really appreciates me for who I am and that allows me to be free in supposedly the freest nation in the world, right? It allows you to use your no muscle. Victor is doing very well. He is doing very well. And Michael is doing well too. He was a little pistol today, all right? We went to a restaurant to eat and he was a little pistol all over the place. One thing that I like about Victor, is that he allows Michael to be free. So, when he goes to a restaurant or something like that, I've never seen them put him in in one of those high seats for kids. Never seen them put him on a high seat. They let him walk around, and one their mom or their dad, his mom or his dad, follows him around. And if he's going to get into something bad, they stop him, or I'll hold him and play with him and whatever. But he's never in one of those constrained seats that makes him sit there so that he doesn't have to be watched. He's allowed to be free, which is a good thing in my opinion. Patty Bragg, how are you doing all the way from Arkansas? Good to see you. Let's see. Is Rooster Cogburn here? Man, I haven't seen Rooster Cogburn here in a while. I must keep missing you, Rooster. Good to see you, by the way. Okay. You know what? KP asks my thoughts on the missing seals. I believe it's 2 of them that are missing. I don't know what to think about it. I honestly don't keep up with that too much. I think it has to do with the Houthis or something like that. I really don't keep up too much on the mainstream media stuff. So I really don't know exactly what's going on with them. But if they were lost at sea and they still haven't been recovered, then more than likely they probably have passed on, unfortunately. And that's really too bad because, I mean, think of all of the death that occurs, ladies and gentlemen, that just shouldn't happen. I mean, we have the United States of America. And when I say we, I mean like our government, because it's not you and me that make these decisions. But we have over 800 military bases all over the world. Why in the world do we have 800 military bases all over the world? Why? When we're being invaded ourselves. Right now, our nation is being invaded. Right now, as I speak, our nation is being invaded. But we're more worried about other countries' borders than we are our own. You know, if I had to use one word to describe what's going on right now with our southern border, it's called treason. That's exactly what it is. Susan asks, AP, do you think that Sasquatches are real? I have no idea. I have a really good friend that looks just like a Sasquatch. His name is Adam, but I've never seen one in real life. 4 monster boxes of silver would last quite a while. And in my opinion, it's a great, not investment, but a great way to preserve your wealth. And more importantly, pass your wealth on to your children because hopefully you'll never have to use that silver and you can just pass it on. Yes, outstanding. Thank you very much, James McKay. And I agree with you 100%. Mother Nature is a formula, and it does what Mother Nature has been doing ever since the beginning of time. Absolutely. Let's see, Yarn Prepper. Yarn Prepper, I got your text, and prayers do go out to you, Yarn Prepper. It is the cycle of life, isn't it? When I read your text earlier today, I thought about my sister-in-law, who's still hanging in there, by the way. She's still hanging in there, but it's getting tougher. Yarn Prepper says, my OUPES 1800 kept my freezer going during the power outage last week. That is awesome. You know why? Because that's what it's supposed to do. That is great. I love it when I hear anyone talk about how they're using their preps in order to, combat whatever situation it is that they have to combat, whatever mini crisis it is that they have to combat. That's awesome. There you go. Yes, I've heard that name before. Malkovich cycle. Yes, and that has to do with the weather. And I believe now I'm probably wrong when I say this, Breed. It has to do with the weather, but I believe it has to do with the cycle of where the Earth and the Sun is in the galaxy or something like that. So I'm probably wrong about that, but it has to do with the weather and things like that. Oh goodness. Okay. Okay, I'm just trying to catch up, ladies and gentlemen. Well, let's see. Deborah Pasillas asks, "Hey AP, would you happen to know what Harp is up to lately?" No, I don't. I know that Harp is somewhere here in Alaska, but I don't. YTU 685, how you doing? Good to see you. I am so far behind as far as the chats go. I'm back to my old shenanigans, ladies and gentlemen. Let me take a sip of my drink. Colorado Pack Rat Prepper, how you doing? Good to see you. Eric Whitefield or Whitfield, how are you doing? All the way from Australia. Good to see you. Dale Robertson, how are you doing, Dale? Wendy Neal, how you doing? Puddin is in the house. Linda Bob is in the house. Trouble Bearstetter, how are you? I'm B. Let's see. That's such a shame. How you doing, Dale? Good to see you, my friend. Huckleberry, how are you? Yes, Huckleberry says, AP, you can buy knife steel, which is blacksmithing steel, pretty cheap, and use a grinder to shape your knife for even more budget friendly. Yes, that's a good comment. When I do these little videos like this, I try to do them so that it can be as easy as possible for someone that has zero experience, like with knives. Like, I don't have experience making knives. So, the easiest possible way for me to make some kind of a bushcraft knife that's very cheap to make, which I didn't even make it. All I did was help sharpen it a little bit more than what it already was. And I put a handle on it. Pretty much just giving you an idea of what you can do to prep on the cheap and still have something that is going to do the job, right? So that's the angle that I try to come with it. Because to tell you the truth, I don't have a way of cutting any kind of steel, and I don't even have a grinder, one of those big grinders that you're talking about that has the two wheels on each end. But I try to look at it in a way that anybody can do this. So whether you have the equipment or not, you can still do what I did with that knife to make that, knife for yourselves. Margarita Castaneda, how are you doing? Look at that, Margarita. You've been a Ladies and Gentlemen Club member for 3 years. That is awesome. Thank you so much for your support. That is awesome. Thank you. Let's bring it on down a little bit. Maddie G, how are you doing? I thought I saw you there. I had to backtrack. I'm pretty sure I already said hello to you, Bonnie. All right. Sean, it was delicious. And I really did go in the house that morning after I tore down or got most of the camp back in the sled. I really did go in the house and cook up that hunt that I got. Absolutely. Get your medical and dental. A lot of people forget about dental, but all you have to do is ask yourselves, have you ever had like a toothache that started like on a Friday night and you couldn't get to a dentist till Monday? Oh, imagine having one of those for even longer because you didn't prep for your dental. Right? At the very least, for dental, ladies and gentlemen, prep a plier, a set of pliers. At the very least, okay, if you don't want to prep some Ambisol, if you don't want to prep some antibiotics, if you don't want to prep some ibuprofen or something that is going to take the pain away until you can get to a medical professional, at least prep by getting a nice set of pliers. All right, that way you can use it to get rid of the pain in your mouth. I actually saw that once when I used to work in Michigan. I used to work in the dairy. It was called Dean's Foods. It was a milk processing plant. Leroy Clark was his name. His name was Leroy Clark. Really good guy, hardworking guy, really good guy. Old school guy. He had a really bad toothache once, and he was in the cooler. He was working one of the machines that puts the gallon milks in. I think they're called Bossies. I think that's what they're called. I forget the name, but they're the carts that the gallon milk goes on. It's a machine that pushes them on the shelves. And he had a really bad toothache. And one of the maintenance men was walking by. Randy was his name. And he says, Randy, can I borrow your plier? So Randy gave him his plier and he pulled that tooth right out and just kept on working. Oh, goodness. Yes, Kate DeShong, I understand the sentiment behind your comment, and I think that a lot of things may happen this year that maybe would disturb the contest that is supposed to happen towards the end of the year. For those of you that have been with me for a little bit here on this channel, you'll have heard me talking about maybe a couple years back or more, saying that I think that the climax of all of the cycles that we are experiencing coming together will be towards the end of this year, early next year, meaning that we're going to have some serious civil unrest. You're going to have to be prepared. This is the year, ladies and gentlemen. If preppers had a Super Bowl, I would say that this would be the year towards the end of this year, early next year. Meaning, what do I mean by if preppers had a Super Bowl? That if there were a time in our history, and this is what I believe, and I do hope that I'm wrong, if there were a time in our history where we would need our preps the most, it would be going in to the end of this year and early next year, and then going forward for the next half of a decade. This is going to be a very slow rolling train, but it's going to increasingly get worse as time goes on. And it's all part of a cycle, ladies and gentlemen. That's all it is. There's really nothing, in my opinion, that we can do to avert what's coming. It's already been written. All we have to do is make sure that we continue to prepare for it. I hope you can all hear me well. I just noticed that my microphone is over here, and usually I have it right in front of me. Let's see. Let's bring it on down some. Jeffrey Lindquist, how you doing, brother? You know what? I don't think I ever took that video down, but just in case you can't find it, go check out Billy and D, Frontier Preppers. Billy did a good video on filling 1 pound propane cylinders as well. Let's see, looking. The 49 States says Costco Business Center opens here in Anchorage in 2 weeks. So think bacon by the case. Nice. Oh, goodness. YTU 685. Do I know you? This is not Oscar, is it? Adam is my man. Adam is my good friend, right? He's like as tall as a Sasquatch, and he's usually as hairy as one too. Got it. He used to have a really big beard, and he had to cut most of it off for a job that he got. But yeah, Adam's a good guy. We've been friends for a little bit now. Yes, it is. Oh, yes, Cassandra Lynn. Yes, yes, the earthquake. This was actually a pretty good earthquake as far as me feeling it. It had to have lasted about good 20 seconds or so. So yeah, definitely felt it. Evita asked, any thoughts about the chemtrails that we have been hearing so much about? Well, I mean, I've been hearing about them and seeing them for years now. And I mean, ladies and gentlemen, it's what I would say. If it's true what I hear, I think one of the gentleman's last name is Wigington, I think is his name, that he talks about chemtrails and the alteration of the weather, by the government and stuff like that. And whether what do you call it, when they change the weather and stuff like that, that's not conspiracy theory. Right? There's papers out on that the government's been doing that for years now, for decades now, ladies and gentlemen. All of this stuff that they put up in the air, I believe that's just a way of slow kill. Just like our water, our food, our meat, all of these things have one or more things that are just carcinogenics to our body. They're not bad, not good for our bodies. That's why I say always have a water filtration system in your home. Always. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good your utility company is or you think it is. Always back it up with having a water filtration system in your home. Reverse osmosis, best choice in my opinion. But if you can get like a Berkey or any kind of a filtration system where you know that it's clean water coming out that end, I recommend that you do that. And it doesn't have to be. I affiliate with Simpure because I think that their products are very good, but also very well priced, right? But it doesn't even have to be that. It can be whatever it is that you decide. You can go get a zero water filtration system right now on Amazon for like $30. And it's very good quality reverse osmosis water out of a pitcher filter. The only problem you're going to have is that you're going to have to change those filters out pretty regularly, right? And that might get a little bit costly depending on how much water you go through. But it's better than drinking something that you're being told is good and then finding out years later that maybe it wasn't that good. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm actually going to be putting out a video here in the next couple of weeks from Simpure, pretty much reviewing with you all the U3. It's an ultraviolet gravity fed filtration system that's kind of like the Berkey. And I'll tell you what, I think that the quality of that filtration system that they came out with that has an ultraviolet light in the spigot to give you an extra additional layer of, of cleanliness or security and making sure that the water is clean. I think it's a great design and it's just a great water filter. The water comes out of that thing so darn clean. But anyways, I digress. Let's go and keep taking a look at the comments here. Excuse me. MD Creekmore is in the house. What's up, brother? Man, I'm about 10 minutes behind. I hope that you're still on just so I can say hello. It's good to see you, man. Hey, you can keep that weather, okay? You can keep the snow, right? I will keep the cold, no problem, but you can keep the snow down there. Actually, we're not going to have any snow here for probably, I don't know. There's no snow in the forecast for at least the next couple of weeks, but we have really cold weather for the next couple of weeks. Hey, if our moderators can please put up MD Creekmore's YouTube channel, put it up there. I don't shout out MD Creekmore enough, man. Very great channel, and I really enjoy it. Believe it or not, MD, I rarely miss one of your videos. You're one of the few channels that I watch like on a regular basis. So thank you very much for joining in. And yes, keep all of that snow down there. We'll keep the cold, and you keep the snow. Look at that. Dale Kopp. Thank you very much, Dale, for your support over the last 24 months. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Grayman is doing better. I think it was either last night or the night before that he had a live stream. He's doing much better. I believe that next Monday, we will be doing our AP and Grayman live stream together, right? But I know that I couldn't do it this last Monday, and he definitely couldn't do it the Monday before because he was really in bad shape. But I think that things may line up this Monday coming up. Let's see. Well, ladies and oh my goodness, we're already at an hour and almost 15 minutes. I think we're going to have to go ahead. No way. I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, it is a very small world. Are you kidding me? I knew Leroy Clark. His brother Ali was my dad's best friend. They lived down the road. Great people. Yeah. Are you Sunset Heritage Farm? Are you down from Michigan? Right. Let me know what town in Michigan to see if we're talking about the same guy. Right. But if the Leroy Clark I'm talking about, actually the Leroy Clark I'm talking about shared a sandwich with me. First time I ever had muskrat. It was actually really good. He's like, "Hey Rudy, do you want a sandwich? I got 2 of these." I'm like, "What is it?" He's like, "Muskrat." I'm like, "What's that?" He's like, "Well, it's kind of like a rat. It's like a." I'm like, "I've never tried it before." I tried it. I was like, "Wow, it's really good." but really good guy too. Leroy is a really good guy. Let's see. Let's see. GI says, I have an Energy 1500 with extra battery. It would be connected to my fridge, but have to charge it with solar outside. How do you do this without letting any flies or bugs inside? Close the door, I guess. I'm not sure exactly what you're trying to ask there. Let's see. Okay, bringing it down, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and start closing this down. I'm looking for nothing but caps here real quick. Okay. Millington, Michigan. Unless Leroy Clark moved, unless we're talking about the same one or different ones, it was in Everett, Michigan, that Leroy Clark used to live. But that was when I was there, which was 20 years ago, maybe something like that. So things could have changed between now and then. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me go ahead and close it off. I'm out of practice in doing live streams because I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit. But let me say thank you very much to all of you for joining in. I had a great time as always. So thank you for being here. Welcome to all of you that are here for the first time that are new to the channel. If you're still here and you're new to the channel, meaning that let's say you subscribed like within the last couple of weeks, and or if this is your first live stream, in all caps, put I am new. And towards the end of the live stream, when we do our outro, we'll go ahead and shout you out by putting your name up on the screen so you can see it. And then everyone can welcome you into our community. All right. Into this community that's awesome, by the way. All right. So having said that, thanks again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to do my best to try to have a news video out for tomorrow being Saturday. Okay. Because I do have a very busy weekend ahead. I do think that I'm going to be going out on a winter camping trip this weekend just because it's supposed to be so cold. I want to test out some new equipment. So having said that, let's do a quick safety brief, being that it's Friday, and it's simply just be prepared. And for goodness sakes, do not drink and drive, ladies and gentlemen, but be prepared with all of those things that you need, especially if you fall within one of those states in the lower 48s or even in Canada that's getting this really big cold blast. Here in Alaska, we're used to it. We're pretty much used to getting these cold blasts. We're used to losing power every now and then. But for those of you down there that are not used to this on a regular basis or an annual basis, make sure that you're prepared. Have somewhere to go, right? Have a way to keep your electricity in the house running or your heat running at the very minimum, right? And having said that, again, God bless every one of you. Again, go ahead and put I am new if you are new, and we will talk to you very soon. So again, God bless every one of you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm out of practice and my voice is going. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. And let me find our outro. And we are out. God bless you all. Bye.